I request Mr. Biswanath Agarwal ji to kindly come to the stage.
Speak in English or speak in Odia.
Okay,
Speak from your heart.
I'll follow that tradition. I am speaking in English. I really sorry that I cannot oblige my friend. Well, friends, I think I have to apologize also on another issue. You are at a different plane altogether now. Delighted and excited with the new developments regarding Netaji, declassification of the mysterious files. And I am told by my friends that last 9 years, year after year, on this august platform, Netaji Subhash Bose INA Trust, many intellectually stimulating discussions have taken place about his political philosophy, his struggle for freedom, last but not the least, his momentous exit from India and preparing something spectacular and unprecedented. I had the privilege also, with the help of Dr. Shishir Kumar Bose, his nephew, to publish the story of his great escape from India. Shishir Babu himself drove him, his nephew, the Kabul frontiers in my magazine, The Heritage, years ago. But today, as we discussed in Pondicherry, Sri Chikara was kind enough to fly down there, and we discussed that, well, all these are brilliant episodes, and they focus on some of the glorious chapters of India's recent history, but history that is past. A great aspect of Subhash Chandra Bose must also be highlighted, his vision for the future. I'm sorry, I will take you to another plane altogether today, and we discussed that my subject will be the vision of Subhash Chandra Bose and the issue of intolerance. Well, as you know, Subhash Chandra Bose was born in my home state, Orissa. He grew up at Cuttack, where I was also a student much later for many years. I had the privilege to come in contact with some of his classmates in the collegiate school. Later, I had the privilege to come across, or rather be very familiar with, the legendary freedom fighter and long-time parliamentarian Surendra Mohan Ghosh, who was his friend and for some time philosopher. At the age of 15 at Cuttack, Subhash Chandra came for the first time in contact with the works of Swami Vivekananda. And as you know, Vivekananda was the first great mystic for whom yoga also meant service to the motherland, upliftment of India. One single instance will say what India meant to Swami Vivekananda when one of his European Western disciples, Miss MacLeod, came to India and put the question to Swamiji, I have come to serve you, Swamiji. How best can I serve you? The instant mantra Swamiji gave her in 2 words, love India. That was Vivekananda's revolutionary concept of yoga turned into the service of Mother India. And I will not speak from any of my oral evidences that I have got from others, his classmates and Surendra Mohan, but all from his own writings. At the tender age, Swamiji developed 2 great ideals. One was, I am quoting him, but I am not reading out, it will take time. Just the flowers bloom in order to give fragrance. Just the rivers flow in order to meet the mighty ocean. human beings who are born in order to solve a mighty great issue. What is that issue? There is some culmination to human life. There is some purpose in divine creating human beings. And further he says, this is from his Taruner Sapno, a Bangla book, and this is a translation into English. And another essay written at a very early age, Godar Kotha, the matters of the beginning. He says the genius of India has kept the lamp of wisdom alight even through the ages of darkness. We children of those geniuses must not die before contributing to the fulfillment of that dream. As Subhash Chandra Bose's intellectual development progressed, he became indisputed leader of the masses of Calcutta. He, for the first time, came in contact with Sri Aurobindo's admirers. And in his own words, he says, when I came to Calcutta in 1913, Aurobindo was already a legendary figure. This is from an Indian pilgrim. Rarely have I heard or seen people speak of a leader with such rapturous enthusiasm, and many were the anecdotes of this great man, some of them probably true, which traveled from mouth to mouth. And when Sri Aurobindo's letters came, Sri Aurobindo was already in Pondicherry by that time, he says, Subhash Chandra says, that whenever these letters came, hundreds of us would gather around the person who had received the letters and would read them aloud and would listen to them. Subhash Chandra had some doubts about spirituality. Barring Swami Vivekananda, all the great saints and prophets and masters he read, they gave him the impression that spirituality is something otherworldly. It is something which has nothing to do with the pragmatic problems of life. It is something which is for the liberation of the individual. How can I embrace their spirituality after having read Vivekananda? That Mother India also is a great reality. Mother India could be a goal for somebody. This problem, these questions were resolved by Sri Aurobindo again. He says that when he started reading the Arya magazine, and in the Arya magazine, for the first time he came across a synthesis. And in his own words, the synthesis is between matter and spirit. He says that, well, for the first time I knew, Sri Aurobindo puts it very clearly, life is no illusion, although the values by which we generally live, guided by our passions and emotions, vital instincts, they are illusory. But life has a goal, life has a fulfillment, life has a progress. It is not illusion. And one day, there will be a spiritual fulfillment of life. He says, Subhash Chandra says, that I came across a theory that reconciles matter with spirit. And that tells me also that all the different schools of yoga, like Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, they have only one common goal, and that is the realization of an ultimate truth in life. And further, what is very important, he says that this fulfillment can be done, can be achieved only through continuous progress in human consciousness. These are things we are charmed by his political activities, his great revolutionary zeal. But the person, I tell you, gentlemen, out of my studies of Subhash Chandra Bose's original works, had he continued in India, he would have become the first great statesman who could give a new orientation to politics inspired by spiritual vision, which has not yet taken place. Politics and spirituality remain. Well, poles apart, you all know that Subhash Chandra Bose, till 1926, was a great lieutenant of Desabandhu Chittaranjan Das, C.R. Das. And C.R. Das, how did he come to prominence? He fought for Sri Aurobindo's defense in Alipur conspiracy case. And his stimulating words, Chittaranjan Das' stimulating words, Subhash Chandra quoted in his letters to his friends. These are the words Subhash Chandra was fond of. C.R. Das told about Sri Aurobindo at the end of his argument in 1909 in Alipur conspiracy case, that long after this controversy is hushed in silence, controversy regarding Sri Aurobindo, long after this controversy is hushed in silence, long after this turmoil, this agitation ceases, long after he is dead and gone, he will be looked upon as the poet of patriotism, as the prophet of nationalism and the lover of humanity. Long after he is dead and gone, his words will be echoed and re-echoed, not only in India, but across distant seas and lands. Subhash Chandra became very successful in Indian civil service examination. Why did he resign? Very simple. He says that, I had before me the example of Aurobindo Ghosh, who deliberately absented from the horse riding text so that he could be disqualified by ICS. Having this example before me, how could I accept the yoke of civil service to serve an alien government? So the spiritual as well as the practical example set by Sri Aurobindo was his inspiration. And in a letter he writes to a biographer in 1926, Chittaranjan Das expired, when Subhash Chandra was in jail, Mandalay jail. Surendramohan Ghosh lives a beautiful, he has a fine instance. There was a great Marxist in jail. I need not mention his name now, but he was trying to convert Subhash Chandra to Marxism. Surendramohan was quoting, something against this proposition that Marxism is the ultimate goal of society. For a long time they continued arguing for 3 days, and the Marxist told Surendramohan that you are wrong. Surendramohan quietly said, I cannot be wrong, because all that I have said not from my common sense or my intellect, but from Sri Aurobindo. Subhash Chandra said, enough. That's all. The debate ends. Subhash Chandra is not converted to Marxism. Now, C.R. Das' passing away definitely gave him a great jolt. You see, he used the term Mahatma for C.R. Das. Mahaprana, Mahatma, Mahamanav. These are the words he used for C.R. Das. And to a biographer of C.R. Das, Subhash Chandra advises that look here, never forget to mention that C.R. Das's first great goal was a total assimilation of racial and communal identities into one Indian race. Subhash Chandra would never, C.R. Das will never tolerate that Hindus and Muslims or any other community living in India constituted separate identities. They were all one. And this can be done, achieved. Subhash Chandra comes to a tremendously, almost a shocking concept. Love is the secret of it. Imagine the Subhash Chandra, the fighter, the great leader of the Bose, and his concept of philosophy, his real understanding of life and the future of mankind. Love. Well, even during his time, the hostile forces of what we call today intolerance was there. He was also not tolerated properly by many higher ups. As you know in history, I need not refer to these things. Year after year, I have discussed them. But what exactly is the anatomy of this intolerance? There are two broad views, anthropological and spiritual. unless our young people are made to understand the concept of progress which was given by Subhash Chandra Bose, they cannot rise above this instinct of intolerance. Let me very briefly in 2 minutes speak what exactly the anthropological concept of intolerance and what is spiritual. Let us be very clear about it. Anthropologically speaking, from the very dawn of human creation, two instincts have governed our life: cooperation and intolerance. The primitive man must cooperate with his fellow neighbor in order to save himself from a dangerous attack of an animal, from a fire in the forest, for crossing the river. Cooperation necessary. At the same time, he is jealous of the neighbor because there are very few small amounts of food they can gather through hunting, through this and that. So he doesn't tolerate anybody else sharing this. On one hand, attraction for each other, for coming together. On the other hand, intolerance for each other. This is an instinct from the beginning remaining embedded in the human subconsciousness. But spiritual definition is quite different. There is a mighty power, call it divine, or call it the supreme, or whatever you like, which has manifested into many. The one divine has become many. Hence, each one is a secret pull for the other. I too am an emanation of the divine. You too are an emanation of the divine. Hence, there is a mutual attraction and mutual urge for coming together through creation of hundreds of associations, through creation of new religions, festivities. That instinct governs us. We want to come together. At the same time, God is ekameva dvitiyam, one and unique. As His emanation, I also feel I am one and unique. In other words, through ignorance, I understand that I am somebody who is superior to others. The uniqueness of the divinity which is projected in my consciousness, manifesting through total ignorance which engulfs us, comes as an ego, and I must prove that I am superior to everybody else. And I do not tolerate your opinion, your idea. When I say my religion is greater than your religion, what I really mean is I am greater than you. So individual ego, collective ego, they come again as a contrast to the original inspiration for coming together. Now, unless human beings have grown out of this ignorance, there can never be, really speaking, a unity of consciousness. But Sri Aurobindo saw it and Subhash Chandra Bose saw it, that this is bound to come because we are progressing. His wonderful words, Subhash Chandra's wonderful words, he says, very clearly he says, this statement that we have to ultimately realize love, this statement may be challenged when one can see so much in life that is opposed to love. But the paradox can be easily explained. The essential principle, these are Subhash Chandra's words, is not fully manifest yet. Evolution has not yet been completed. It is unfolding itself in space and time. Love, like a reality of which it is the essence, is dynamic. The vision of Sri Aurobindo is that man is still today half animal. It is still evolving. A time would come, the potentially inherent divinity in human consciousness is bound to manifest. Subhash Chandra felt it, and that is why he speaks of non-ending eternal progress. Well, intolerance was marked to its maximum manifestation during 20th century. Think of the broad daylight execution of millions of Jews. A whole state, a very considered to be a mystically oriented state in Europe. Certainly, it speaks of, in one sense, of human awareness. But human awareness and publicity, more publicity, should not be confused as greater intolerance. There is no greater intolerance. And as my esteemed friend, Professor Bibi Dutta was referring to me last night about a scholar's question, that when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was leading the Congress, at that time, how is it that the followers did not feel themselves to be Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, etc., etc.? The reason is very simple. It was because Subhash Chandra Bose had the uncanny capacity to take the entire motivation of a collective freedom fighters race to a higher goal, that is the freedom of motherland. And before that goal, all these things, smaller identities became insignificant. They forgot about it. Today, what goal we have? Unless we can cultivate a new vision that human beings as they are today are not the last products of evolutionary process. There is a divine future waiting for man, a future of fulfillment, a future of a glorious conclusion of what the nicest or evolutionary power is trying to create. Unless through education, through culture, these ideas are implanted in the minds of the youth, minds of the children, intolerance could not be get over. Ignorance has many faces. Intolerance is only one of them. The pity is today, with the growth of publicity, growth of media, growth of everything, now, many of you must have heard a very significant but folk anecdote. In a forest, there is a hermit. Inside a cave, a hermit alone sits. One day he sees that a spirit, a very darker spirit is passing by, the spirit of plague. The hermit, through his divine vision, sees him and calls him. Where are you going? I am going to the other side of the river, to the village. Why? Now, well, it's my duty. I have to kill a few people. How many? Oh, not many, only 100 I will kill and come back. So there is plague in the village beyond the river, but 1,000 people die. After 7 days, the spirit is coming back. The hermit sees him. Wait, wait. You said only you will take the lives of only 100 people, but 1,000 people have died. His answer is, believe me, sir, I really killed only 100. 900 died out of fear. Today, there may be few cases of intolerance, no doubt about it. But those intellectuals who are crying wolf, those who are spreading an air of intolerance, probably 900 more people will become victims of the fear of intolerance. And the fear will also manifest in different ways. Let us not do so. Let us not forget that after all said and done, we live with faith. We live with trust. Every step we take with the unconscious faith that the earth will not give away. Every morsel of food I take, it is with the faith that it is not poison. The very first cry a child gives, coming out of mother's womb, is the cry of faith that there are souls to listen to my cry. And let us not disrupt that faith by mere sensation mongering and by, rather, if there are cases of intolerance, there will be other ways to eradicate them. Not the way of simply making some sensational statements and gestures which by no means create the original disease. By all means, go to the people, try to educate them against their prejudices. That will do something, but not by newspaper statements or surrender of awards, etc., etc. Dear friends, I still believe that the Indian consciousness is very optimistic, an optimism which guided every step of Subhash Chandra Bose. That optimism is there, deep-rooted in Indian consciousness. I will give an example. Once a great professor, an expert on the theories of evolution, who is giving a lecture in a small university auditorium, only to research scholars and professors. He speaks of many evolutionary theories, Darwin of course, but many more also. There are many great, proponents of different theories of evolution. But ultimately he says that, friends, you will be surprised to know, I am a scientist. Sorry, but my knowledge of evolution got a new orientation. It got a touch of fulfillment by reading not another scientist, by one of your Indian great geniuses. Who is he? Somebody asked. He is Sri Aurobindo. He says that everything that can evolve is already involved. A flower evolves because it is involved in the bud. Bud is involved in the stem. Stem is involved in the plant. So, one day, more than mind, which is today bankrupt practically, mind has given us everything it could give. It has given us politics, it has given us science, but it has not given us a sense of fulfillment. Now, Sri Aurobindo believes that there is still inherent in human consciousness a new power yet to unfold that is more than mind, beyond mind, the super mind. And this theory of evolution, the professor says, supplemented my knowledge of evolution. And I could see that my knowledge of evolution now it becomes a complete circle. And as the professor is leaving, the Vice Chancellor's car has come into the portico. It is raining. And one old man with a tattered umbrella is trying to protect his head from the splashes of rain. And the professor looks at him and says, "Thank you very much." This man says, "Sir, your talk was beautiful. But I don't know why one or two murmurs I heard that looking at today's man as he is there any faith that this man will grow into something divine, something nobler? But I wonder, why do they disbelieve?" The surprised professor is looking at this man. "Who are you, sir?" "No, I am a caretaker of this hall. I am a retired primary school teacher. My son is a clerk here. He's in charge of this hall. So I occasionally come and stay with him." "And you could follow my talk?" "Yes, sir. I am an old matriculate. I understand English a little bit. I could follow." "Sir, I will tell you one thing," the man says. "There is a pond. Now it is raining. You can't see it. Sometimes early in the morning when I come out and look at the pond, I see a beautiful lotus abloom. Now, if the grace of sunlight from a stuff like mud and mire, a wonder like lotus can grow with the grace of the divine, why not out of the filth of today's mental being, something great, something divine can flourish?" This is Indian consciousness. This is the faith in ordinary Indian, a rustic nurtures in his heart through the years. Now, I do not know, I should not proceed any further, but the question today is, how can we grow further? How can we make progress further? Unless there is a collective aspiration. And collective aspiration for outgrow ourselves, which has to be imbibed by the entire educational system. Without that, really, no true progress can take place. Our greatest tribute we can pay to Subhash Chandra Bose. God knows about the mysteries of his disappearance. The debate goes on and it will go on. But his greatest hope was the future of India, the progress of India. And certainly we can, if at the individual level, contribute towards that. Well, you know that I'll conclude in 1 minute. It comes to my mind a beautiful incident somebody was telling me. You know, centipede, there is a kind of worm with 100 legs. Once a centipede goes to a wise owl, the bird owl, and says, I have arthritis in my 100 legs. What can I do? I can't walk. And the owl said, very simple. If you reduce your 100 legs to 50 legs, your pain will be half. Oh, fine. If you reduce to 10 legs, it will be still 1/10. Wonderful. If you reduce your number of legs to 2, you will have 2% of the pain. Wonderful. How to go about it? The owl says, you see, I only state the principles. I have no time for giving, how to execute it. That is others' business. So we all speak of intolerance. Massive country is India, a complex country. 100 legs, yes, India has 100 ideas, 100 problems, and they are all painful. But how to go about it? Just saying that there is intolerance is not going to help. Every individual must try to grow within himself. And it is believed, according to mystic faith, that alone can really contaminate others, spread an aura around, and change the destiny of a nation. Even few individuals, one individual like Subhash Bose, could inspire a whole nation. There are individuals also invisibly guiding us, and individuals who can spread that aura of tolerance, of a different destiny. Unless the ideal of a new destiny, man is not the final product of evolution. There is something else to be achieved, and India has the knowledge of that achievement. Unless this faith has been cultivated, unless this is hammered again into the consciousness of the collective India, our crying intolerance and doing individual gestures of very, very dubious nature is not going to help. Dear friends, it has been a privilege for me to come here, stand before you, and speak for a few minutes. And I'm grateful to the organizers. I'm grateful to the friends who have been so kind to call me here, and to you all.
If you have any question, you can always put it up. Dr. Manoj should be happy enough to not after this.
Thank you, dear friend. Intolerance is a sign of ignorance. Ignorance can make use of any institution, any idea, and pervert it and make it something terrible. So intolerance can be at the level of competitors, politicians. There is intolerance of one another because each one believes that he is superior to the other. Among scientists, there is intolerance of each other. Nations, there is intolerance of each other. But once we realize that the multiplicity is the law of the creation, is the joy, delight of creation. A rose and a lotus do not rival each other. Rose is beautiful, lotus is beautiful. My religion is beautiful, your religion is beautiful. This can come only through a realization of this basic truth. Out of it.